Title: I Shall Seal the Heavens. Chapter 1. Ashes of Cloud Vale. The wind howled across Cloud Vale Mountain like a restless spirit, threading through ancient pine and ghostly mist, as though whispering the names of those who had once stood where Meng Yun now stood. The mountain was old, its crags carved by time and blood. Its name was revered in every province of the Eastern Heaven domain, known not only for the illustrious sect it housed, but for the legends it birthed. Legends of warriors who split mountains, sages who read the Tao in falling leaves, and disciples who rose to immortality. Meng Yun was none of these. He stood at the edge of the outer sect courtyard, clutching a scroll to his chest like a prayer. His robes were threadbare at the hem, ink stains tattooed across his cuffs, and his hair, though carefully tied, lacked the sheen of one blessed by Qi. 7 times he had taken the spring examinations. 7 times he had failed. And yet, he returned. The courtyard was already filling with hopefuls. Boys and girls barely older than 15, with fresh hopes in their eyes and parents watching from the stone walls with trembling pride. Beside them stood the seasoned outer disciples clothed in green-trimmed robes, whispering assessments about who might pass, who might ascend to the inner gate, and who, like Meng Yun, would simply fall. From behind him came a voice, sharp and arrogant. Ink-stain Yun returns from the grave. Meng Yun did not need to turn. Wei Chen always announced himself with a sneer. I thought ghosts were silent, Wei Chen continued. And yet this one writes essays no one reads. The laughter from the surrounding disciples was polite, not malicious. Even among the unkind, no one truly hated Meng Yun. He was too pitiful for that. A scholar born to farmers. A bright mind wasted on broken meridians. In a world where cultivation meant survival, intellect was only currency when wrapped in spiritual power. I write for those who forget history, Meng Yun said, voice calm, eyes still on the testing pillar. So they don't become it. Wei Chen gave a mock bow. A poet now. Next year you can teach rats how to meditate. The bells chimed then. 4 times, echoing through the cliffs like thunder rolling across heaven. The disciples fell into silence. The examinations had begun. Elder Shou, the overseer of the outer sect, stepped forward. A tall man with a beard like silvered steel, his gaze swept across the courtyard like a blade. Let all who seek the path of cultivation step forward and place your hands upon the pillar of origin. Let the heavens witness your worth. The jade pillar stood 12 feet high, carved with ancient runes that shimmered faintly under sunlight. It responded only to the spark of spirit roots, the mystical threads that allowed mortals to channel Qi. One by one, the disciples stepped forward. A girl from the southern provinces placed her hand and was engulfed in green light. Mid-grade wood root, the pillar announced. Applause followed. She would be accepted. A boy from the city touched it, and blue ripples danced across the runes. Low-grade water root, still acceptable. Then came Wei Chen. He placed his hand confidently, and lightning erupted from the runes. The air snapped with static. High-grade thunder root. The courtyard roared with approval. Wei Chen turned, grinning at Meng Yun. Then silence. It was Meng Yun's turn. His steps were slow, steady. He pressed his palm to the pillar. Nothing happened. No glow, no hum, no resistance. The pillar was dead beneath his touch. Null affinity, the elder said without inflection. A whisper passed through the courtyard. The worst result. Not even a low-grade root. Nothing. Elder Shou sighed. Meng Yun, you've tried 7 times. You're nearly 21. Your spirit veins are sealed. The sect cannot afford to feed failures. I understand, Meng Yun said. And then he bowed. Not to beg, but to honor. When the trials ended and new disciples were led toward the inner halls for their ceremony, Meng Yun turned and left without speaking to anyone. Not even Wei Chen, whose smirk followed him like a shadow. That night, Meng Yun sat on the western cliffs beneath the stars. Wind curled around him like a breath of forgotten gods. He stared into the night sky, half in despair, half in defiance. Then he saw it. A streak of light, golden, not white, cut across the heavens. Not a comet, a sigil. It burned symbols into the sky before vanishing beyond the mountain's edge. Drawn by instinct or madness, Meng Yun followed it, past the sect walls, past the last torch, into the forests beneath Cloudvale's shadow. There, in a shallow crater, embedded into blackened earth, lay a shard of obsidian etched with runes that twisted before his eyes. It pulsed softly. When he touched it, time stopped. Sound died. The wind ceased. His heart halted. And a voice, not of words but of will, entered his mind. "Do you reject the path heaven has laid for you?" Meng Yun, lips trembling, whispered. "Yes." And the shard entered him. When he awoke, he was not the same. He could hear the wind whispering secrets, see threads of fate tangled in the trees. And most of all, he could feel Qi. Not channeled through roots or veins, but defied. He had not gained a spirit root. He had gained something far older. The heaven-sealing totem. Chapter 2. The totem awakens. Dawn crept over the horizon like spilled ink across rice paper, the sky bruised in hues of plum and ember. Meng Yun awoke beneath the twisted boughs of the forest. The shard now gone, its presence etched into his very soul. Birds called out, unaware that the heavens themselves had shifted in the night. He sat up slowly, the events of the night before threading back into his consciousness like an unfinished poem. His robes were damp with dew, and his palms burned faintly, as though the shard had seared him from the inside. Yet there was no wound, no scar, only the memory of that voice. "Do you reject the path heaven has laid for you?" And his answer, yes. The wind stirred again, but it felt different. No longer a passing breeze, but a messenger. He could sense something beneath its movement, as if language itself were encoded in the motion of the leaves. He stood slowly and closed his eyes, letting the air wrap around him. Qi. Not summoned, not pushed through meridians, but responding to him. Drawn by some invisible gravity. He needed to test it. Meng Yun returned to the abandoned grove behind the sect's outer compound, a forgotten training yard overgrown with moss and silence. He had come here often, not to cultivate but to study, to hide, to imagine. But today he came to see if what he now carried was real. He stood at the center and breathed slowly, recalling the many scrolls he had studied on internal energy flow, Dantean structure, meridian maps. Useless knowledge once. Now, perhaps not. He extended his hand. Focused. A flicker. Like a candle flame in the void, a faint thread of energy coiled around his fingers, dancing like it belonged. It was not the clear elemental Qi of the sect's arts. It was black, threaded with violet veins. Ancient. Wild. And something else. Resentful. It twisted once and faded. Meng Yun stumbled back, panting. A voice behind him spoke. Curious technique. He turned. An old man in faded gray robes stood at the grove's edge, leaning on a bamboo staff. His beard was unkempt, his eyes half-lidded, but there was something ageless about him. "Who?" "Mo Fan," the man said. "Former inner disciple, former rebel, former fool. Now I just wander." Meng Yun stared. Mo Fan was a ghost story, a cautionary tale. "You felt it, didn't you?" Mo Fan said, approaching. The world shifting, the threads fraying. Meng Yun nodded slowly. Mo Fan crouched beside him. "Show me." Meng Yun hesitated, then raised his hand and summoned the energy again. This time more controlled, it spiraled up like smoke. Mo Fan's eyes widened. "That's not sect Qi. That's not even heavenly Qi. That's forbidden, that's totemic." Meng Yun blinked. "You know what this is?" "No," Mo Fan admitted, "but I know who might." They traveled under cover of night to the hollow archives, a ruin buried beneath the mountain, sealed after the War of the Sealed Sky. Mo Fan led the way through tunnels lit only by the pale glow of totem light radiating from Meng Yun's palms. "What is the totem?" Meng Yun asked. "A fragment, Mo Fan said. Of a god, or something older. A will that was too proud to kneel before heaven. Inside the archives they found books petrified by time, murals etched in faded gold, and at the center, a pedestal with a basin. Mo Fan gestured. Place your hand. Meng Yun obeyed. The basin flared to life, showing images in fire. A colossal figure with burning eyes sealing a door in the sky. Chains descending from the heavens, a totem shattered into fragments cast into the mortal world. Then, a whisper. Seal the sky. Free the world. Mo Fan bowed his head. It's true then. The totem chose you. Meng Yun swallowed. What does it mean? Mo Fan stood slowly. It means you can defy fate, but heaven will notice, and it will not forgive. The next day the sect elders convened. Rumors had spread. Someone had entered the forbidden archives. Mo Fan had been seen, and a pulse of foreign ki had rippled through the inner grounds. Elder Shou stood before the stone council table. Something is stirring. Elder Jian, stooped with age but sharp in spirit, nodded. A totem awakening is a sign. The seals may weaken, or someone seeks to break them. That night, Meng Yun sat by a small flame with Mo Fan, the words of the basin echoing in his mind. Seal the sky. Free the world. Do you regret it? Mo Fan asked. Saying yes? Meng Yun shook his head. The world never made room for me, he said. So I'll make my own. Mo Fan smiled grimly. Then let me teach you how to wield what you've been given, before heaven sends someone to kill you. Thus began Meng Yun's true cultivation, not along the paths taught by sects or scrolls, but in the silent traditions forgotten by history. He learned to trace the key of resentment, to read the whispers in the wind, to draw upon the totemic flame without letting it consume him. And all the while, deep beneath Cloud Veil, the ancient seals trembled. The heavens were silent, but no longer blind. Chapter 3. The Heaven-Sent Hunter. The days that followed blurred like ink in rain. Meng Yun trained in silence and shadow, far from the eyes of sect brothers who would not recognize him now. Mo Fan pushed him relentlessly, not with kindness, but with urgency. Time, he said, was no longer a river. It was a fuse. Meng Yun's nights were filled with visions, of a burning sky, of chains cracking, of a woman cloaked in starlight weeping beside a gate of bone. He would wake gasping, the mark on his palm glowing faintly beneath his skin. You're changing, Mo Fan told him. Not just in strength, but in nature. Totemic energy rewrites what you are. But even as he grew in power, danger began to gather like thunderclouds on the horizon. In the capital of the Southern Heaven Dominion, a figure knelt before the Emperor of Heaven's Gate sect. Tall and cloaked in robes of silver-threaded black, the man bore no weapons, and needed none. Your task, the Emperor said, voice cold as celestial ice, is to find the source of the totemic surge in Cloud Veil sect. The man rose, revealing violet eyes and a silver brand upon his brow. I shall unmake him, said the heaven-sent hunter. In Cloud Veil, Elder Jean summoned the sect's most trusted warriors. A storm was coming, he said, and they must be ready. But the storm had already begun. That night, Meng Yun and Mo Fan were ambushed. 5 figures cloaked in shadow attacked with precision, wielding blades of heaven-forged steel. Mo Fan countered with illusions and wind form, but they were outnumbered, outclassed. Run! Mo Fan shouted, bleeding from his chest. But Meng Yun did not run. He unleashed the totem flame. The attackers faltered as the black-violet energy tore through the grove, warping space, burning leaves to ash. One screamed as their arm turned to smoke. Another collapsed, weeping blood. Mo Fan stared, horrified. You summoned its true form. The totem is waking. Meng Yun's eyes were void black. His voice echoed with another's timbre. They came for me. They found more than they could hold. And just as suddenly the power receded. Meng Yun collapsed. He woke in a cave, bandaged and weak. Mo Fan sat beside him. You could have killed us all, the old man said. I didn't mean to. That's the problem. Meng Yun looked away. I'll learn to control it, I have to. Good, Mo Fan said, because you won't survive the next one. Far above, the heaven-sent hunter arrived at Cloudvale. He walked through the front gates without a word. Elders stepped aside. No one challenged him. He sniffed the air, then pointed toward the western cliffs. He's there. Meng Yun felt the pressure before he saw the figure. A presence like a mountain pressing down on the world. The totem in his soul recoiled. Mo Fan, he whispered. He's here. Mo Fan handed him a scroll. This is the wind silencing step. Use it. Escape. I'll hold him. You'll die. I died a long time ago. Go. Meng Yun fled as the hunter descended. Mo Fan stood alone. You're him, the hunter said. The last rebel. And you're a dog on a leash. The clash was brief and blinding. Mo Fan conjured illusions, storms, doppelgangers. The hunter walked through them all. His hand touched Mo Fan's chest, and the old man fell like a cut tree. But the delay was enough. Meng Yun reached the outer cliffs. He unrolled the scroll, traced the steps. Wind gathered at his feet, and he vanished. The sect was in uproar. Elders quarreled, disciples panicked. The hunter returned to the capital with Mo Fan's shattered staff and a single message. The bearer of the totem lives. The emperor's knuckles whitened. Then send the celestial agents. Bring him to me, or bring me his ashes. Meng Yun ran for days, across rivers, through ghost woods, into the stone-bone wastes. Everywhere he felt eyes, whispers. Heaven watched. He hid in a ruined temple, eating dried roots, meditating by starlight. His body ached, his soul burned. The totem stirred constantly as if angry. He spoke aloud. I don't know what you want from me. No answer. Only the wind. He remembered Mo Fan's last words. You must awaken it, on your terms, not its. So Meng Yun began to train again. Not to wield the totem, but to contain it. To become its equal, not its vessel. And as he trained, a figure watched from the shadows. A girl with eyes like a storm and a blade of obsidian. She smiled. So this is the boy who defies heaven. Interesting. Chapter 4. The Stormborn Blade. Rain poured over the stone-bone wastes, drenching the jagged hills and scorched plains in a sheet of silver. Meng Yun crouched beside the broken altar of the ruined temple, the mark on his palm glowing faintly. His breath came slow, misting in the cold air as he repeated the same motion again and again, channeling energy through his meridians, condensing the totemic flame, and containing it without release. It was like trying to hold lightning inside paper. Behind him, the girl stepped forward at last. You train like a dying beast. Meng Yun turned, startled. Her presence was soundless, her robe slicked with rain but clean as though the storm parted for her. Who are you? He asked. A question with too many answers. You may call me Zhui Lian. She flicked her wrist. A stone nearby exploded in a bloom of ice shards. Her blade hadn't moved. You're not with the celestial agents? She smiled faintly. They hunt you. I study you. Meng Yun stood slowly. Why? Because you survived something you should not have. Because you hold a totem not meant for mortals. And because you are being watched by forces older than heaven itself. His heart pounded. Then help me. Teach me. She studied him. Very well, but understand this. To survive what comes, you must kill who you were. Training with Zhui Lian was unlike anything Meng Yun had endured before. She spoke little, fought hard, and every day she pushed him to the brink of death. She taught him the blade of resonant void, a technique that required absolute stillness of spirit, followed by explosive fury. It took Meng Yun 2 weeks to master the first motion. They trained in silence side by side beneath lightning-racked skies. Shilin whispered mantras in forgotten tongues, guiding him through the harmony of totem and will. On the 15th night, the totem flared within him, not wildly, but in tandem with his breath, controlled, aligned. "Now you are a vessel no longer," she said. "You are the oath." Far to the east, in the imperial capital of the Heaven's Gate sect, the emperor stood atop the star-watching spire, robes fluttering in divine wind. "The totem responds," he murmured. The boy grows stronger. A robed figure behind him bowed. "The celestial agents have traced him to the stone-bone wastes. Then release the hollow fang. Let them bleed his trail." The figure hesitated. "The hollow fang is a cursed beast, my lord. Even your servants may not control it." "Then they are unworthy." The emperor turned, eyes glowing with starlit malice. "The silent oath must not mature. If he reaches ascendancy, heaven itself will tremble." Meng Yun's training was interrupted days later by the arrival of a beast unlike any he'd seen. It came in the night, its form mist and sinew, a serpent of shadows with a maw of rusted fangs. The hollow fang. It tore through the temple ruins, hurling Meng Yun across the rocks. Xue Lian met it head-on, but even she was overmatched. Her blade struck air. The beast reformed. Meng Yun rose, bloodied and dazed. He felt the totem scream in warning. He stepped forward. "Leave her," he said. The beast turned, sensing him. It lunged. Meng Yun's world slowed. The blade of resonant void sang in his memory. His totem flared, not in chaos, but in accord. He struck. The air ruptured. The hollow fang wailed as void light split its form. It crashed to the ground, dissolving into mist and bone dust. Weilian watched him with something close to awe. "You killed it." "No," Meng Yun said, breathing hard. "I bound it." He held up his palm. The totem now bore a second ring, silver, like fanged runes. It submitted. But victory was short-lived. The next morning, the celestial agents arrived. They came in robes of gold and crimson, riding swords of crystal flame, 20 in number, elite cultivators loyal to the emperor. Meng Yun and Xue Lian fled through the ruins, fighting as they moved. Lightning split the sky. Totemic flame lit the rain-soaked rocks. One by one, the agents fell, but so too did time slip away. Xue Lian was wounded, her shoulder scorched. "You must go," she said. "I'll hold them." "No, we fight together. If you die, all this was for nothing." She kissed his forehead, a whisper of frost, then turned to face the last of the agents. Meng Yun ran, into the storms, into the mountains, into the unknown. He traveled alone for days. The totem pulsed quietly, guiding him. Visions plagued him again, of a tower of bone, of wings made of stars, of Mo Fan's voice calling him from within a mirror. He followed the pull of the totem north to the frozen wastes. There, buried beneath centuries of ice, he found a gate carved with the same symbols as the mark on his palm, a gate that whispered his name. Chapter 5. Echoes Beneath the Ice. The frozen gate loomed before Meng Yun, half buried in ancient snow, its surface covered with sigils that pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat. Cold air burned in his lungs as he pressed his palm against the stone. The totem reacted instantly. Light surged, the snow cracked. No, the gate groaned open, revealing a stairwell spiraling into darkness. Meng Yun descended without hesitation. The air below was stale and heavy, thick with forgotten centuries. Each step triggered memories not his own, flashes of ancient battles, dead gods screaming in silence, and totems broken or devoured. At the bottom he found a circular chamber filled with floating glyphs. In the center stood a crystal monolith etched with the same symbols as his mark. He approached. The totem in his hand flared. A voice, neither male nor female, filled the space. "You who wear the silent flame, why do you disturb the echoes of ascendancy?" Meng Yun knelt instinctively. "I seek understanding. I seek strength." The glyphs circled faster. Then face the echo of the one who came before. The chamber pulsed. From the monolith emerged a spectral figure, tall, shrouded in crimson and gold, with totems etched across its entire body. Its eyes burned like suns. It charged. Meng Yun barely dodged the first strike. The figure fought like a storm incarnate, each blow summoning force and flame. Meng Yun countered with the blade of resonant void, but the echo was faster. Pain bloomed as a spectral blade sliced across his ribs. The totem screamed. He closed his eyes, listened. Sui Lian's voice echoed in memory. Stillness, then fury. He focused. Time slowed. The void within him deepened. He struck, not with power, but with purpose. The spectral figure faltered. Meng Yun pressed forward. One cut, then another. The void light sang. With a final scream, the echo dissolved. The glyphs slowed. The voice returned. You have conquered the echo. You are now marked. His totem changed. Another ring forming, this one bearing a crescent moon and a shattered blade. Far away, in the Heaven's Gate capital, the Emperor gasped. He has awakened the fourth seal, he murmured. Around him, the celestial diviners fell into a frenzy. The oath is maturing. If he reaches the seventh, the prophecy. Enough, the Emperor snapped. Summon the Ashen Lords. Meng Yun emerged from the icy crypt days later, transformed. He moved like silence given form. His aura pulsed with the authority of a living totem. He did not walk long before he was found. A girl in tattered robes blocked his path. Her eyes glowed green. Her hands bore ritual scars. You bear the silent oath, she whispered. And you are? A seer of the old flame. I come bearing a warning. She threw down a scroll, marked in blood. Meng Yun unrolled it. Within was a map leading to the sundered valley and a single message. The blade of heaven sleeps there. It will wake when death comes for you. Before he could ask more, the girl vanished into mist. Traveling to the sundered valley took weeks. Along the way, Meng Yun encountered more signs of change. The world itself seemed to pulse with unease. Mountains trembled in their sleep. Rivers reversed flow. The heavens grew quiet. He met others too, those who sensed his totem and sought it. One was a blind swordsman who fought by sensing intent. One was a mother desperate to cure her dying son, begging Meng Yun to burn his own life to save the boy. He did. Each encounter cost him time and strength, but each one honed him. At last he reached the sundered valley. It was a place of shattered earth and screaming winds. At the center stood a single obsidian pillar, wrapped in golden chains. He stepped forward. Lightning struck. The sky opened. From the pillar rose a blade unlike any other. It hovered in the air, humming, the blade of heaven. It spoke. You are not yet worthy. Then test me. The wind roared. The blade split into 7 fragments. Each fragment summoned an illusion, a trial. In one, Meng Yun faced Sui Lian dying again and again, blaming him. In another, he saw the world burning with his own face in the sky. Each illusion tore at his mind, but he endured. At the end, he faced himself, a version with golden eyes and imperial robes declaring, "You will become me." "Then I will change you," Meng Yun replied. He shattered the illusion. The fragments rejoined. The blade of heaven hovered before him. "Then take me, bearer of the silent oath." He reached forward. Pain, light, power. The totem burned. A new ring formed. This one, dark gold, etched with twin stars. As Meng Yun held the blade, a vision seized him. He saw a battlefield beneath a red moon. Thousands dead. Above them, the Emperor laughed, wearing a crown of blood and stars. At his feet knelt Meng Yun. The vision shattered. Meng Yun gripped the blade tighter. "I will not kneel. Not now. Not ever." The winds howled in approval. Chapter 6. The Ashen Lords descend. Storms churned above the desolate wastes of the eastern shroud, as 7 figures cloaked in ash-gray robes marched across the blackened snow. Where they walked, the world seemed to wilt. Birds fell dead from the sky. Rivers turned to dust. The Ashen Lords had returned. Each bore a different sigil upon their brow, symbols lost to time. Their leader, the one known as the Worm Speaker, held in his palm a vial of obsidian ichor, whispering to it as though it spoke back. "He bears the fifth ring now," he murmured. The silent oath draws near its final seal. Far to the south, in a hidden village spared from the eyes of empire, Meng Yun sat beneath a dead tree. The blade of heaven rested across his knees, humming in resonance with the void. Meditation came harder now. The blade whispered in his dreams. "They are coming. Prepare." A child ran to him, a boy no older than 7. "Uncle Meng, the stars are crying again." Meng Yun stood. Sure enough, streaks of fire fell from the heavens. Not meteors, omens. He turned to the village elder. "I must leave. Keep the people underground. If I fail, run west. Never look back." The old man nodded gravely. "We knew your coming would bring both hope and war." In the Ghostwind Peaks, Meng Yun met the first of the Ashen Lords. A woman made of smoke and bone, her face hidden behind a veil of silk flame. She bowed mockingly. "Bearer of the oath, the Worm Speaker sends regrets. He prefers not to dirty his hands with corpses." She raised her hand. Thorns of cursed steel erupted from the earth. Meng Yun drew the blade of heaven. Their battle lit the peaks for 3 days. She fought with illusions and curses while he answered with the purity of void light and conviction. On the dawn of the 4th, she faltered. "You see through it all. I see truth. I see death, and I do not fear either." His blade fell. The mountain swallowed her scream. One by one, the Ashen Lords tested him. The twin blades of dust, whose every step aged the earth 1,000 years. The cradle singer, who lulled cities to sleep and left only bones. The mirror saint, who forced Meng Yun to relive his worst moments in an infinite loop. Each fell, but each left a scar. Meng Yun's totem pulsed with unbearable heat. The 6th ring burned into place, a black sun entwined with vines. Atop the sky tomb spire, the Worm Speaker waited. He sat upon a throne of living stone, whispering prophecies into the void. Meng Yun ascended the spire alone. The sky cracked with thunder, lightning forked like dragons. "You were not meant to rise," the Worm Speaker hissed. "You were meant to kneel. I was meant to choose." They fought. The Worm Speaker wielded forgotten languages as weapons, words that sundered air, shattered gravity. He spoke a sentence and mountains died. Meng Yun met him with silence. Each swing of the blade of heaven denied destiny, denied prophecy, denied fate. At the summit's edge, the Worm Speaker faltered. "You are what the prophecy feared, the one who seals not just the heavens, but the chains that bind them." With a cry, Meng Yun struck him down. The spire collapsed. Meng Yun fell for days. He awoke in a crater, surrounded by glowing ash. The blade of heaven hovered above him. The totem on his chest pulsed. The 7th ring had formed, a circle of stars broken by a single vertical line. His breathing slowed. He had done what none before him had. The silent oath was now complete. In the imperial palace, the emperor shattered his chalice. He has fulfilled the oath. Then the seal will break. The stars dimmed above the empire. In the north, a new storm was rising. Chapter 7. The 8th Vein. The storm in the north had a voice. It whispered to the sky and howled to the earth. It was not made of clouds, but memory. A memory long buried, now rising like a tide. Meng Yun stood at its edge, cloaked in silence. The 7th ring burned upon his chest, dim but persistent. He had fulfilled the oath, and yet something stirred beyond the veil of completion. "The oath is a prison," came a voice from the wind, "and the key was forged from your soul." He turned. No one stood there, only a reflection of himself, half-formed in the blizzard. The northern sky cracked open. Light spilled forth, not warm, not cold, but ancient. From it descended a stairway of crystal, suspended in time. Above it floated a palace made of petrified light, the 8th vein of the heavens, a place forgotten by gods. Meng Yun ascended. Every step triggered a memory not his own. He saw battles between beasts of eternity. He saw a blade much like his own, but wielded by a woman with silver tears. He saw her fall, again and again. And each time, a voice echoed, "Only the bearer of the eight can change the pattern." Within the palace, time halted. A man sat on a throne made of mirrors. His eyes were sewn shut with golden thread. And yet, he saw everything. "I am the archivist," he said, "the last who remembers when the heavens were still open." Meng Yun approached slowly. "Then you know why I've come." The archivist nodded. "To awaken the eighth vein. To seal the heavens not with chains, but with choice." He pointed to the ceiling. There, constellations moved, showing a wheel of ages. "There have been 7 bearers before you. All failed. You are the last thread." Meng Yun walked through the palace. Each room revealed a different world, one of fire, one of shadow, one where he had never been born. In the chamber of truth he met her, the woman with silver tears. Her name echoed in his mind, Lin Shui. She reached for him. "You're the dream I left behind." He took her hand. The world shivered. Together they stood before the vein. It pulsed like a heart. One beat for every life, every death, every broken promise. Meng Yun raised the blade of heaven. "I don't seek control," he said. "I seek choice." And he struck the vein. The heavens screamed. The stars reversed. The world blinked. Meng Yun fell through light and shadow. When he landed, the palace was gone. The blade of heaven had shattered. The totem on his chest glowed with 8 points. And beside him stood Lin Shui, real as rain. "You changed the pattern," she whispered. Behind them the storm began to break. Far above, something in the stars stirred. Chapter 8. The Broken Mandate. The sky wept blood. Not rain, not ash. Blood. In the capital of the Southern Celestial Empire, crimson streaked the heavens as the imperial astrologers screamed and tore their charts. The constellations were wrong. The stars no longer obeyed the heavenly script. The 8 veins had been disturbed. And at the center of it all stood Meng Yun, totem blazing with 8 glyphs, the blade of heaven shattered but its will still echoing. The emperor, robed in dragon silk, stared from his obsidian balcony. "He dares defy the mandate," he murmured. "Summon the 5 guardians." Far from the throne, Meng Yun and Lin Shui descended into the ruins of Dawnspire Temple. Once a sanctuary for those who rid fate, now it lay in ruin, buried beneath vines and silence. "We need to reach the Hall of Echoes," Lin Shui said. "That's where the 9th seal waits." "Another seal?" Meng Yun asked. Lin Shui nodded gravely. "The 8 freed you from fate, the 9th yum will bind something greater." Beneath the temple they encountered the first guardian, Shifeng, the tiger of red flame. She radiated celestial fire, her every breath scorching the air. "You broke the heavens," she said. "Now you'll burn with them." Their clash lit the ruins like dawn. Shifeng wielded a spear of starlight, her strike swift and devastating. But Meng Yun fought with something deeper, resolve unshaken by prophecy. In the end, it was not power that won, but purpose. He disarmed her, sparing her life. "Why hesitate?" she asked, bleeding. "Because I see you're not my enemy," Meng Yun replied. She bowed. "Then may fire guide your path." Guardian after guardian fell, not to death but to understanding. Each saw something in Meng Yun that defied what they had been told. Not a destroyer, but a redeemer. The final guardian, Yue Shen, was different. A child, no older than 10, yet with eyes older than the stars. "I am the last lock," she said. Meng Yun knelt before her. "I am not here to break you, only to ask. What will you bind with the 9th? Myself, my will, so that no one else ever bears this burden." Yue Shen touched his brow. "Then pass, sealer of heavens." The Hall of Echoes was neither stone nor sky. It was a chamber formed of memory. Every wall reflected versions of Meng Yun, the coward, the tyrant, the martyr. He stepped into the center and held his hands wide. I see you all, and I choose none. The ninth seal answered. A beam of light fell from nowhere, forging a new blade, silent, dark, but thrumming with potential. The oath was no longer silent. It sang. Lin Shui wept. It's not over, is it? No, Meng Yun said. Now it begins. Chapter 9. The Silent Conquered. The ninth seal shimmered on Meng Yun's chest, no longer a brand of burden but a symbol of self-chosen fate. As the dawn of a new era broke over the war-torn skies, peace did not follow. The Southern Celestial Empire had declared him an aberration. To them, any who altered the stars was a heretic. But Meng Yun had no interest in conquest. He walked among ruins and reborn lands, listening, learning. Where crops had withered beneath corrupted skies, he whispered old words the heavens once used to speak life. Fields bloomed. The people called him heaven-touched. Yet the silence between stars deepened. In the eternal library of murmured winds, the last 3 star speakers gathered. Old men with eyes sewn shut by tradition, they had once penned the mandate. Now trembling, they watched it unravel. The silent conquered must be invoked, said the eldest. The heavens must answer him. The conquered was sealed at the cost of 10 realms, warned the second. The third only wept. Then let 10 more fall. But he must be stopped. They summoned it. The sky split, not with light but with silence. The conquered descended. 5 avatars, formed not of flesh, but of the oldest laws. Law of beginning, law of balance, law of suffering, law of end, and the law of return. They wore no faces, no names, only echoes. Meng Yun felt them before he saw them. A pressure behind the soul. A reminder that even the freest song must one day end. I will not kneel, he said. You already have, replied the law of return. Each time you sought mercy. But I chose to show mercy. And choice, said the law of balance, is what you threaten. The battle was not one of swords or fire. It was of truths. Meng Yun stood in the storm of their judgment and answered each law. To the law of beginning, he spoke of his humble roots and how greatness could rise from rejection. To the law of suffering, he offered his scars, carved not by enemies, but by fate itself. To the law of end, he offered no defense, only acceptance, that one day, even his story would close. The laws hesitated. Lin Shui joined him. He does not break the cycle. He completes it differently. Then the Concord made its final move. They called forth a soul from the abyss, one who bore the old title of Sealer. It was Meng Yun's ancestor, a man who had, in arrogance, tried to rule the heavens rather than heal them. The clash was inevitable. Steel sang against silence. In the end, Meng Yun did not win with strength. He won with surrender, laying down his blade and opening his heart. His ancestor wept. Then you are the first true sealer. The Concord dissolved. That night stars fell, not in ruin but as seeds. A new constellation bloomed. A man and a woman standing beneath a sky split by choice. And the people whispered, the heavens are no longer silent. Chapter 10. Heaven's Silent Oath. The final breath of the old world came not with fire, but with stillness. A hush swept across the realms, not one born of peace, but of held breath. In the new constellation's glow, kingdoms reconsidered. War horns went silent. Priests rewrote prophecies. Children were born with stardust in their eyes, and Meng Yun vanished. In the decades that followed, stories grew in his absence, that he had sealed himself inside a mountain to contain the last whisper of heaven's rage, that he wandered as a nameless monk, sowing wisdom among the broken, that he had become one with the oath itself. But only Lin Shui knew the truth. She kept a shrine in the Valley of Echoes, not of stone but of silence. Travelers who knelt there found answers to questions they hadn't yet asked. One winter, as snow fell like feathers from heaven's broken wings, a boy arrived. He bore the mark, the same totem that had awakened in Meng Yun. But this one was raw, uncontrolled, desperate. "Please," he asked Lin Shui, "teach me how to listen." She said only, "Then listen." Days passed. The boy waited in silence. On the seventh day, a wind stirred. A voice, not loud but resonant. It was not Meng Yun. It was the oath. You who would carry silence understand this. Power is not given but born, not by strength but by surrender. The boy wept, not from fear, but from recognition, and the totem burned brighter. Lin Shui led him through the same paths she and Meng Yun once walked, across the bone valleys, beneath the sky roots, into the caverns where echoes held memories. He saw not just what Meng Yun had done, but what he had chosen not to do. He learned that strength meant restraint, that truth meant sacrifice. In the temple of last names, he asked, who was he really? Lin Shui smiled. He was the first who listened. One night, lightning struck the valley. The sky opened, not in wrath, but as a gate. Lin Shui knew her time had come. She left the boy a blade made not of metal but of memory, a weapon only the silent could wield. "I'm not ready," he said. "No one ever is," she replied. She stepped through the gate and vanished, perhaps to where Meng Yun waited, or perhaps to become part of the oath herself. Centuries passed. The story of heaven's silent oath faded into legend, then myth. But sometimes, in moments between heartbeats, when a person chose mercy over vengeance or love over fear, a whisper stirred. It said, "You are heard," and the stars would shine just a little brighter. Epilogue, echoes in the stars. Far beyond the reach of time and realm where even silence has its own gravity, the heaven-sealing totem floated, alone, yet not forgotten. Among the stars, threads of memory weave together. A constellation of every choice, every defiance, every moment of surrender Meng Yun had ever made. And from that constellation came not doctrine, but possibility. In a remote province of the mortal world, a girl with cloud-gray eyes looked up. She felt it, the stir of something ancient, waiting. Her village had no cultivators, no scrolls of power. Yet when she touched the soil, it healed. When she spoke, the dying listened. And sometimes in dreams a quiet man watched over her from beneath a tattered sky. Not Meng Yun, but the path he left behind. Across realms, cultivators no longer feared silence. They studied it, respected it, and those who once sought to bind the heavens began asking how to live beneath them instead. In the ruins of the eternal library, pages fluttered without wind. A single phrase appeared across every tome. Let the oath speak where swords cannot. And in a small shrine in the Valley of Echoes, a child left a paper lantern for Meng Yun. It read, "Thank you for hearing the world when no one else would." The lantern lifted into the night, burning not with fire but remembrance, and in the dark between stars a whisper stirred once more. Oaths may be silent, but they are never forgotten.